Hey there. Today, we're diving into the surprising truths about our relationship with money. And let's kick things off with a big one. Being good with money has very little to do with how smart you are, and everything to do with how you behave.
We're all kind of taught that finance is this hard science, right? It's all about numbers and formulas and complicated spreadsheets, a math problem that needs to be solved. But is that really what it is?
Well, it turns out not really. Financial success is actually a soft skill. It has way less to do with what you know and so much more to do with how you act. And once you really get that, it changes everything.
Okay, so let's get into the first big idea here, which is really money's biggest secret. Your success with it isn't determined by your IQ. Seriously, you don't have to be a genius. In fact, some of the absolute smartest people on the planet make some of the most disastrous financial decisions.
And that's the fundamental disconnect, isn't it? We fire up a spreadsheet thinking we're about to make this super logical, calculated choice. But the real decisions, the ones we make over dinner or in a blind panic when the market drops, they're driven by this messy cocktail of fear, ego, and our entire life story.
So all this messy, emotional stuff, it shapes what we could call our personal money story. And here's the thing about that. The financial decisions you make probably seem perfectly rational to you, even if they look completely bonkers to someone else. And there's a really good reason for that.
I mean, think about it this way. Our own personal experience with money, it feels like the whole world to us, right? It forms almost our entire view on how things work. But in reality, what we've personally seen is just a tiny, microscopic sliver of everything that's ever happened. We're all basically trying to navigate this huge, complex world with a map that only shows our own backyard.
So for instance, if you were raised in a time when prices were totally stable, you might think of bonds as the safest thing in the world. But if you saw your family's savings just get eaten alive by inflation in the 70s, you're going to have this gut-level fear of the exact same investment. Both views make perfect sense. They're just born from completely different worlds. Or how about this one? If your first taste of investing was the dot-com bubble, you might think high-risk stocks are a one-way ticket to getting rich quick. But if your first investment was right before the 2008 crash, you'd probably see the stock market as a rigged casino. See, neither person is crazy. They're just responding logically to the tiny slice of history they actually lived through.
So this is a great time to just kind of pause and ask yourself, what are my automatic beliefs about money, about debt, about saving, about the stock market? And can you trace those feelings back to something in your own past? Just realizing that is a huge first step to making better choices.
Okay, so beyond our own personal stories, there are these huge, invisible forces at play that we tend to ignore. We love to think we're the captain of our own ship, but so much of our financial life is shaped by luck, risk, and maybe the most powerful force of all, time. Luck and risk. They're really just two sides of the same coin. It's so easy for us to look at our successes and say, yep, that was all skill, and then look at other people's success and say, well, they just got lucky. But the truth is, you can't really judge any financial outcome without admitting that random chance plays a massive role in everyone's story.
But if there's one force that's more powerful than anything else, it's time. Good investing isn't really about being a genius and picking the next big thing. It's about letting the slow, steady, and honestly unstoppable power of compounding do the heavy lifting for you. And what it can do is absolutely mind-blowing.
Okay, check this out. Let's say you invest just $100. For the first 10 years, it grows to about $259. Not that exciting. But then the magic starts to happen. The growth just explodes. It goes totally exponential, and the biggest, craziest gains all happen way at the end. The only secret ingredient here is giving it enough time.
All right, this leads us to a really important idea. We tend to assume that the skills that help you get rich are the same ones that help you stay rich. But they're not just different. In fact, a lot of the time, they're polar opposites.
I mean, getting wealthy, that often takes some serious risk-taking, a ton of optimism, you gotta be aggressive. But staying wealthy? That's a totally different ballgame. It's all about survival. It requires a certain amount of humility, maybe even a little bit of fear, a healthy paranoia that everything you've built could vanish tomorrow.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's just survival. That's it. It is the single most important financial skill, period. You just have to stay in the game long enough for that compounding magic to really work. Chasing the absolute highest returns possible often means taking risks that can and will wipe you out.
So let's say you do it. You build wealth. You survive. What's it all for?
We tend to think it's about buying bigger houses and faster cars, but the real value of wealth, it's something way deeper than that.
There's this fascinating idea called the man in the car paradox. You know how it works. We buy expensive things because we want respect and admiration from other people. But when you see someone else in a fancy car, you don't really think, wow, that person is so cool. You think, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. We're trying to use our stuff to get respect from people who aren't even really paying attention to us.
Now, I want you to look at this number. $8 million. This was the net worth of a man named Ronald Read when he passed away. So who was he? A tech CEO? A hedge fund manager? Nope, he was a gas station attendant and a janitor. No one had any idea he was wealthy because he never spent his money on fancy stuff.
And his story teaches us probably the most powerful lesson of all. True wealth is invisible. It's the nice car you didn't buy. It's the watch you didn't get. It's the money that's still saved and invested, working for you behind the scenes. The fancy stuff we see isn't wealth. It's the absence of wealth. It's money that's already gone.
Because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. The absolute greatest thing money can buy is control over your own time. It's the freedom to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today. It's not about being fancy, it's about being free.
And that's the real question I want to leave you with. As you make your own financial choices, big and small, just ask yourself, is this moving me closer to a life with more options, more control, or am I trading away my freedom for more stuff? It might be the most important financial question you ever ask yourself. Thanks for tuning in.